Hey guys, it's Rob. This is part 2 of Jeff and Chad's solo podcast. They talked so long and love each other so much, we had to split it into 2. So if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to that one first. Catch you on the flip side.
So we just have we don't have, we got the Democrats, but the Democrats aren't necessarily like the Labor Party. We don't have a Labor Party. No. We don't have anybody that fights for unions and, good pay and trying to, I don't know, at least maybe in my imagination, there was a time where when the corporation did well, everybody did well. Like, you wanted the factory to pump out and make a quality product. And, there's old sayings where Ford said he made the car, he increased wages for his employees so that they could all afford to buy the product that they were making. Because he knew that a healthy, robust, Ford basically took on this strategy that okay, there's a lot of factories around here. And what I'll do is I'll pay a higher wage for my factory workers, and that will increase competition for workers who want to come work for me. And then the other surrounding factories will have to also increase their wages in order to not lose their best workers to me. And then de facto, what I will do is literally create an economy of people who can afford my fucking car that I want to make. Because I'm by him raising wages,
and everybody else doing
everybody
it as well.
else had to raise their wages as well. Well, suddenly now all those people became part of the market that would buy the fucking car, and but we lost that now. Now it's like, well, we are going to ship all the factory shit over somewhere else.
We lost it to a degree because at the same time, there's a problem with that, and that's okay. Yeah, everybody's earning a little bit more, because we got some room to move in that regard. And there's, this uniformity of stuff coming out that people want. Okay? But the thing is now, do we want that stuff that's being made? For example, you know what? I'm all for a living wage. Love it. However, if I go to McDonald's and I say, okay, I want a quarter pounder, no cheese, double onions, extra pickles, no ketchup or mustard. And then I get a quarter pounder, double the cheese, no onions, no pickles, ketchup and mustard all over it. I don't think that guy should get fucking $15 an hour. No. I mean, it's a simple thing to do to take my order. You listen to what I say, you repeat it back to me, make sure you got it right, and then execute.
How does a business trying to have effective employees do with them getting paid a living wage, though?
Well, the thing is everybody's saying, yeah, I want this, yeah, I want this, yeah, I want this. I want this to happen. But are you doing anything for it? Just because you're working doesn't mean you're working well. And that's the thing. It's like Ford wanted to make sure that everybody, he thought, yeah, I'm creating an economy that will buy my car, that will buy my product, simply because he knew that he had people that would make it. He wasn't just paying more to get the talent. He was paying more because he was creating the economy. The talent was already there. People then respected what they did. They took a little pride in their work. Here, we just want the handout to a degree. Not completely. People don't want to lay around and just get something for nothing. They still want to do something, but they don't want it to be something that's too difficult. They don't want to have to do too much for that. And, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, for example, you want legal weed? Fine. You voted in. You want to be able to keep affording that legal weed? Then don't come in baked and do your job shitty.
Yeah, I understand, but to me, that's such a straw man argument, because people across the nation are not coming in drunk as fuck because alcohol is legal. They just don't.
But they are coming in and not doing a 100% because they're not getting paid enough. They're like, pay me more and then I'll do something. They're not seeing, if I do something, I get paid more.
Well, that's because we've created a corporate culture where it doesn't matter. right? The jobs have been dumbed down to such a degree because of high turnover rate that when you get somebody in there, there's nothing to do. And they're not going to go home early, and they're not going to ask for extra work for what? They're just going to be like, all right, well, I'm here for this shitty paycheck, and I just need to get enough. I need to get 40 hours, so I'm going to stand here and get my 8 hours if I have to, and there's not necessarily any benefit if I take on any more work. The turnover rate is so high. We've dumbed everything down because we devalued the labor force. You go to McDonald's, the person doesn't have to know anything. It's like the cash register on their side is like pictures of soda. There's 4 buttons for soda. There's the small little soda on the picture. There's the little bit larger soda picture next to it, right? There's the big soda picture on the other one. There's the pictures of all the fucking cheeseburgers and stuff. Then you go back to the person who's cooking it, and it's all like stoves and microwaves and shit. And it's like, you don't even cook the burger. You just kind of throw the patty in the spot marked there, and you kind of close the door, and a little ding will fucking tell you when to do the next thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all automated as much as possible, so
and
that
yet it still gets fucked up.
Yeah, because those people are making fucking $7.75 an hour, and they don't give a fuck.
You think that's honestly why they fuck it up? Because they don't. We're not paying for
honestly,
premium talent.
I have. I still eat at McDonald's. I've never really had my order fucked up. I don't know. I don't order off the menu. I'm not a piece of shit. I fucking order what is displayed on the menu. I don't tell them how to cook a fucking burger. I don't tell them how many fucking pickles to put on it. I just say, give me the number 2. Because guess what? They make a number 2 all fucking day.
And you can have any color you want as long as it's black.
I'm not sure I understand that reference.
Henry Ford.
Oh, yes. Sure.
Is it the Model T? Only came in black.
Yeah. I see what
now,
you're saying.
Here, the thing is that created a cottage industry. Somebody figured out, hey, I can paint this shit some other color. So we got tons of people out there painting cars now. That's a whole different thing that's going on.
Yeah, but that market's that's pretty much dead now because you can't compete. Mm-hmm. The mom and pop shop cannot compete with the global supply chain efficiency of outsourcing your manual labor for slave labor, and then that supply chain coming back into the United States. You just can't fucking compete with that. You're not going to.
Sometimes you can.
On rare circumstances, if you have the right product in the right market under the right conditions, you can. But you don't see a lot of custom cars on the road. They're all fucking the same stamped out Hondas, the same stamped out Toyotas, the same stamped out fucking Chevys. When they make the Chevy Silverado, it's like the 2018. How many hundred thousands of that same fucking truck? Oh, you can pick between cloth and leather interior. Yay. It's so fucking custom. You can choose between 6 colors. Gunmetal gray, fucking, charcoal blue, fucking gay pride pink, whatever the fuck, fashion statement color is trending on the websites.
Synergy green.
Synergy green, right.
That was the new Camaro green. That's what it was. Synergy green. I'm like, what the fuck is synergy green?
I honestly, I think it's over. I think the idea of even attempting to bring back those types of jobs, they're never coming back. They're all going to be automated. If you force a company to come back and spend the type of capital that it takes to build a factory from the ground up, which is what you would have to do in the United States, they're going to go to some place like Texas or Nevada, and where the taxes are super low, and they're just going to build a fucking automated factory, because the automated factory is going to be way more cost efficient, a few years out, because they'll never have to pay Social Security. They'll never have to pay any of those laborers. The machines will produce a better product, a higher quality control rate, a higher speed. So the only option we have is maybe we can grow the robotics industry a little bit more, while we build robotic factories for the next 5 to 7 or 8 years. I want to go back, change sort of. I told you fucking NVIDIA was a good fucking a good buy. Did I not? Have you been watching that at all?
Yeah.
The market's exploding.
It is.
Trump already made America wealthier before he's even stepped foot.
Let's see if it holds. Yeah, we've got time.
Oh, we got plenty of time, but
this is traditionally a time of year when things tend to get pretty good anyway.
We're at the 7 to 8 year cycle. We
Well,
should be seeing...
it's not. No, time of year, not cycle. Like every time this year, we've passed Halloween. It's time to gear up for the holidays.
Oh yeah, no. The stock market basically goes to sleep during the summer, for the most part. They just there's not really a whole lot of movement in trading, but we're at record highs now again.
Yeah,
and it's like several days in a row. I think that Trump is looking at deregulating Wall Street a little bit more. He wants to get rid of Dodd-Frank, which is was specifically created to rein in the financial district of Wall Street, the financial section, and now he's going to deregulate that. So I think there's going to be a lot of hot flying money around. We could see very low interest rates for these offshore fucking bank accounts warehousing $1 trillion fucking dollars between Google, Microsoft, Apple, right? That are all on the Cayman Islands, Ireland, fucking Swiss bank accounts, right? These huge swaths of fucking money. If all that comes back into the market, Apple's going to be sure. These companies will spend some of it, but they'll reinvest it. They'll continue to buy each other's fucking stocks. I think we're going to see a lot of that money come pouring in. I think right now is a good time to actually get back into the stock market.
Oh, now? No. Now is if you've got money in it, go ahead and pull it out. If you've got money and you want to put in it, wait. Because everything's high. You want to wait till it gets
I'm talking about for long term. I still think the stock market's going to trend upward for like if
the next 4 years?
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will for at least for the next 2 to 3 years. I think it will.
That does not bode well for us.
You don't think so?
No.
I think it does for a lot of people that have mutual funds, retirement accounts. People
your
that
401k might do all right. Maybe actually, I think no.
I mean, my mutual funds in the week that Hillary's indictment, her second indictment, fell flat, and then the Trump, boom, I made like $3,000.
Yeah.
In like fucking
$3,000
4
on
days.
paper. The thing is
no, you're right. I haven't realized any of those gains, and I'm not going to.
What happens if you take that money out right now?
I would have nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to buy a house. I'm not looking to buy a car. Like, I have nothing. I have no.
But you could pull that money out.
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
And I'd pay whatever fucking insane capital gains tax.
42%?
It's not good.
No.
It's not good. But to me, it's just it's like my retirement nest egg that's just there and will continue to grow for the next 40 or 50 years. So I like to see. I didn't like watching it go from 60K to 24K in 2008. That's what it did.
Yeah.
It literally, like, $40,000 disappeared within like 3 weeks.
And yet the guys who managed that fund still got paid.
Mine's fixed. So
again, it's like, why pay the McDonald's guys $15? Why pay the mutual fund guy this much money?
Yeah,
this much
they only
percentage
pay,
when he doesn't do his damn job.
Well, I mean, that's unfair because obviously a lot of people didn't see the market crash coming. There were few people who predicted that specific market crash.
What was the name of that movie? The Big Short?
Yeah, I didn't watch The Big Short.
You need to watch it.
I don't think I did. I don't think there's anything there for me to gain.
No, there is simply for the explanation cutscenes. Those are the ones that are worth it.
Maybe.
The chick who played Harley Quinn sits in a bathtub with champagne and explains shit. It's not all Steve Carell.
I already know I already know it's all crooked bullshit. People passing around paper, adding invisible fucking value to this thing. It's like all these people trade with themselves. So if we put 100 people in a room, and we all had I gave every person 12 pieces of paper, and we said that the valuation of the entire room with all 100 people with 12 pieces of paper is $500 million. And then we let people trade little pieces of paper. And then at the end of it, somehow everybody thinks that they have $1 billion when they walk out of the room, that $1 billion is somehow leaving the room. And you're like, where did this wealth come from? How is it that you guys trading and making little markups and trades over people? Like, you didn't invent any new wealth. It's not real. It's mythical fucking wealth. And then eventually somebody looks at their piece of paper and realizes, fuck, somebody gets caught with the fucking potato in their hand, the hot potato. Somebody gets caught with that, and that's usually the American public are the ones who fucking get caught. And while the bankers fucking, are laughing fucking at home and the financial district. But if you could, as an independent investor, be on the right sides of those swings, if you can anticipate shit. Like my dad was telling me, my financial advisor said that the market's due for a crash, and I'm all cash asset. I'm all liquid right now. I'm all liquid. And I'm just thinking like, you fool, you just missed a fucking
You missed a good time.
You missed a huge bump right now, like.
But see, there's a thing. It's like the traditional safe havens, they're low as a result because it swings that way. So now is the time to go and do that and sit there and wait 4 years and just hang out.
Yeah, no, there's different strategies. Obviously, there's a ton of different strategies.
Look, let's say this. I'm going to wait and see what he does. Confidence is not high that he will do a great job or even a good job. So if that's the case, he won't last his 4-year term. And at the end of 5 years, we'll see things come around as a result.
Where you think he's going to get like impeached or something?
Oh, fuck no. He'll just do his 4-year term and he won't get an 8.
Yeah, I have a feeling that depending on what happens, because to me, the presidency is always about economics, almost always. And if he turns the economy around, then he might get a second term. Because I have a feeling that all these people that are raging in the streets that think Obama is going to start like hanging faggots and deporting Mexicans are way too overreacting. I don't think Trump's going to do any of that shit. I don't think he gives a fuck about it. I don't think he cares about gay people. I'm not saying he likes him or dislikes him. I think he's just indifferent. I don't think he gives a shit. He's not conservative. He's not a conservative dude. He's been married however many times. He's been banging fucking supermodels his whole fucking life. His wife is a softcore porn, actress. He grabs bitches by the pussy. He's not a fucking
from Eastern Europe. Eastern European.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Where else do you get your mail order brides?
True.
So I think that Trump, it was going to be really good for the economy because he's anti-war. I think that I think we'll see a lot of pulling out and just, I think we'll see a lot of amicability between different countries. Number one, he's already saying that he's not going to support any fucking rebels inside of Syria, and he's gonna ally with Russia and Syria to squash whatever the fuck's going on. I don't know how that plays out, but what I do know is that most people have no idea what the fuck their like squabbles and stuff are even about, and I'm not sure that we necessarily do ourselves or anybody else a service by funding rebels and freedom fighters over in a part of the country that most of America has no idea what the fuck is even going on. That most of America can't even name most of those countries that are over there, and yet Obama sold fucking $278 billion worth of fucking weapons, in his 2 terms. And I think like, even if you're one of the people who's on the side of globalism and you want large, giant globalist supply chains, why have we always put like Russia in the fucking corner? Like, we don't like you, we hate you, we hate anything that you deal with, and we're going to get on the opposite side of any of arrangements you have with other foreign countries. I think it'll be cool to possibly have a positive relationship with Russia. And I think that a lot of that, not having the idea of like a quote unquote war hawk like Hillary Clinton, like calms people around the globe down. And I think that will ultimately be good for business and global economics. I think it'll be painful for the weapons contracting and manufacturers here. Or, maybe not. Maybe Trump will like, whatever, we'll still make and buy a fuck ton of, missiles and ships and stuff anyways. But I like that aspect of it. I think the economy overall will end up doing well just because he's gonna make small tweaks. You can already see the market. It had built in. The market was built in for whatever they thought Hillary was going to do. It was for the same. And then as soon as Hillary loses, the market makes this huge shift where they're like, oh shit, infrastructure. They're all going into a lot of infrastructure markets because they anticipate that Trump's going to start building a bunch of shit in America because he's the one who said, I'm going to bring in 25 million jobs. I don't know if he can fucking get that high. But if he starts building roads and building internet and all this stuff, one thing I want to ask you, I don't really care about going long. I know Rob and everybody else usually doesn't like. I know we're way over an hour.
I don't care.
and we could chop this up into two if that's what it ends up being. Trump has set up a website asking for people to go on there and tell them what the fuck they want. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's called whitehouse.gov. Obama did it already.
Is it the same thing, or is it
There
Trump?
was a thing on there where he actually addressed whether or not we should build a Death Star, for fuck's sake. Because people put it on there. It got enough votes.
Obama?
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's fucking
That
hilarious.
was a couple of years ago.
Apparently, he's now also taking applications for various positions inside of government. That he doesn't necessarily want to have to hire other politicians or lobbyists, and wants to open up the door for people to submit their resumes for various positions.
To me, that smells like I don't really have an idea what the fuck I'm doing. Like, you need to know who you're going to put in this spot. And you know, I say that, and I'm not saying that because I think Hillary would have done it. I'm not saying that Obama has been doing it. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to make a run for president, you know what it entails. You know somewhat of what you should be doing. You should have had mapped out who you wanted to peg for certain positions 2 years ago. You should have known that already. If you're taking resumes, then guess what?
Isn't that the idea of like his whole thing was drain the swamp, right? Get rid of the people that are working there and interject a new people that haven't been there before?
Again, though, like I said, I think
Don't
the
you think
government
that-
is big enough. You need to have people who are at least versed enough in how things work to be able to get it to work. Just having
I don't think you have to know. The rules are already written. You just sit fucking down.
he can't
Somebody
use a
reads the rule.
super from one of his buildings to come in and be the HUD secretary. You can't do that. That's not going to work.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I feel like a lot of that shit up there at that level is people just basically presenting you decisions. They're just saying like, look, this is the argument A and this is argument B, right? And right now the public is heavily favored towards argument B. Which way would you like to go? And the guy just goes, all right, well, what are the arguments? What is my staff counseling me on? Right? They're going to give me advice, and then you just make a decision. It's just the dude's just making a fucking bunch of decisions. People are bringing him fucking notebooks filled with details and stats and, you know, all this shit. I think the White House is basically designed so that you put a guy in there and there's a system built around him to present him decisions and options, and that guy just makes those decisions. The rules are already outlined on what you're supposed to do. Opening up Secretary of the State to the general public and saying, does anybody have qualifications? Do I have anybody from Harvard who graduated who has, you know, some experience, you know, and versus just saying, well, I'm going to choose Harry Reid, or I'm going to choose fucking, you know, I know Paul Ryan would never take that position, but I'm going to choose this guy. Like, I think that it's sort of refreshing to say that I'm going to open the door to see who actually might, what the options are out there, instead of, well, these, because the thing is you look at Trump, and basically everybody turned their back on him, except for a small group of people like Chris Christie and
hang on. Chris Christie was not a vehement Trump supporter. There are literally only a handful of people who were, and the most notable of them were on stage with him when he made his acceptance speech, if you can call it that.
Sure.
Jeff Sessions.
Who's Jeff Sessions?
Jeff Sessions is a career congressman from Alabama. And a total fucking nuffer. This guy's an asshole and a half. Like, I've seen the guy.
Right, but normally
He's a
those
jerk.
people are supporting you because they want a position somewhere higher up the
They're riding
chain.
your coattails.
Yes, exactly.
He
But-
wants what Shelby has, and he wants what Shelby and Nunn have.
But Trump didn't have those people. He like, I know Chris Christie is one of them because I've seen his fat ass standing next to Trump like on almost every fucking press conference for the last 8 months. And I know Mayor Rudy Giuliani is also one of them. So you know Giuliani will get a nice position somewhere. He's going to get, I don't know what he wants. I'm sure, you know, the internet probably knows what he wants and what he's vying for, but I'm blind to it right now. But that pool of like the people that he's definitely got to supplant somewhere is very small. Whereas like Hillary, like you said, has been, you know, she would have had people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who would have been like a shoe-in for somebody somewhere in the cabinet, right?
Well, that's cronyism at that point.
Right,
And she's
it is
going to pay
cronyism.
off those people who helped her get to where she was if she'd have won.
But since everybody turned their back on Trump, he's like, fuck this shit. Applications on the internet. Fuck these guys that were shitting on me the whole way that I was coming up and taking over this fucking party. He's opening the door. Maybe this is all just a fucking lie. Maybe all those resumes that you submit on the website just go directly to a fucking trash bin somewhere.
No hyphen reply at Trump.org.
Exactly.
It's a bit bin. That's what it's called. That's what's going to happen. He's doing this is a stunt.
A bit bin.
A bit bin.
Oh,
it's a
wow.
bit bin. It's where all the spare bits go.
That's funny.
Just go in the bin. Fuck him. No, he's not. He's already got. He's got a core group of people that he is relying on, I'm sure, to tell him who's going to go where, who's going to do what, who's going to be the best person to be in there. And I mean, the fact that he's already said, "Hey, Pence, you're going to do the transition. You've got this." That's going to determine a lot of what's going to happen, and it's going to be very, very. I mean, because Pence is extremely conservative, and that's Trump has tried to. He's tried to do what the Republican Party's wanted to do and not done very well since Reagan. And that's hit the single issuers, hit the extreme rightists who are out there, and some of them, just the key ones. He's missed a few. You know, there's your Glenn Becks, your Alex Jones, your Rush Limbaughs, those guys who are so obtuse that they're not really speaking to anybody except themselves.
You're not talking to the mic.
Oh, sorry. But the thing is he's not. He's garnered all these people now. Now he's got to figure out what the fuck to do. And one of those things he's got to do is still manage the shit and realize all the shit that I said before that I can't do, that I literally cannot do because it is ass backwards logically. I have to be able to figure out how to do it and not do it. How can I do this so that I'm not reneging on my word. I'm not going back on what I promised, but yet at the same time, I'm not fully breaking shit, so I'm not a complete fuck up and disaster. Because he wants to come out of this. I mean, what he should have done is said, "I'm only going to do this for 4 years." He should have made a promise and said, "It's only going to take 4 years. I'm going to clean this up in 2, and the next 2 I'm just going to coast." But he didn't do that. He said nothing about term limits because he doesn't even know. This man has no idea how the government actually runs. And very few of us actually do, right down to the nuts and bolts.
Well, that's
of it.
because it doesn't run the way it's written on paper anyways, right? Because a lot of it's done backdoor deals, negotiating. There is a lot of, compromise and stuff that's happening behind doors. That's how it actually runs. It doesn't run the way that it's supposed to necessarily on paper, right?
It's exploitation of those rules.
It is exploitation of those, and there's
a
too
lot
much
of
dirty. There's definitely a lot of money that goes in there that influences it, right, against the way that it should be operating. My hope for Trump is that I think he will ultimately want to run another. Because look, you look at Trump. Trump is. He could be arguably a great American success story, right? You could say that about him. This guy that spent most of his life working in the private sector, did very well for himself, and now wants to do the kind of traditional founding father kind of role where you step in, you serve your country, as a political servant for a couple of years, and then you go back to the private sector when you're done. And I think that he could play that role, and I think ultimately he will want to run a second term. And we've already seen with the election that the independents are still up for grabs. When he gets to the end of the term, we don't know what kind of shit show the Democratic Party will be in 4 years from now. We don't know whether they'll pull their heads out of their asses, whether Bernie and Elizabeth Warren will take over and it will become a fucking total socialist, party, or if the money in politics is just too fucking strong and it's just fucking the same DNC with a different fucking label on top of it.
It'll be new blood. They'll bring it in. It'll happen.
So
it's already the stage is being set.
I'm going to assume he wants to run a second term, which means he cannot go super crazy conservative shit. Because
the Republicans will push the Republican Party because that's still its own machine too. It's not that the DNC is some wildly massive thing that is completely out of touch with America. They are, but so is the Republican Party. They just pay attention a little bit better this time to what they could do, and they hated it. They fucking hated it, but they did it, and they got a guy in. Now, because they've got him in there, it would be absolutely. He would have to be impeached for them to run somebody who's not incumbent.
Don't you think, though, that this proved, that Trump proved, the Republicans don't give a shit about conservatism?
No.
They didn't elect a conservative. They didn't elect a conservative. Every other person up there was like, God gave me this position. God wants me to fucking win. God thinks that people who have abortions burn in hell. God hates faggots. And the one guy who was like, nah, I don't give a shit about that, but let's get rid of the Mexicans and stop the terrorists from moving in here. People were like, fuck yeah, that guy. And then they were like, just, kind of like, I didn't see all the South Park. I saw little pieces of it. And they were like, did you watch the South Park stuff?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
And basically it's like the guy, Mr. What's the teacher guy with that turned trans?
Shit.
Mr.
Garrison?
Yeah, Garrison. Yeah. He plays Trump. Garrison's Trump, and he gets up in front of everybody, and he's trying to lose on purpose. And so he keeps saying terrible things. And all the people, it shows then the South Park people.
And they love him for it.
They were like, well, that guy doesn't sound like a politician. He sounds just like me. I like that guy. And he's like, I'm a fucking loser, and I hate Mexicans. And they're like, God, he doesn't sound professional at all. That's the kind of guy we need. Mm-hmm. That's like the mindset. And I think that showed that you don't have to be some Bible-thumping evangelist to take over the Republican Party. Because I don't think that's really what they want. I think that's secondary to them. I think this God thing.
The single issue voter is literally the way the Republicans get control of any race. That's how they do that. Is going in and making sure that they have somebody who doesn't overtly say no to the single issue voter. To the guy who, I don't care what you do, just don't fuck with my guns. I don't care what you do, but don't kill babies. I don't care what you do, but don't let them faggots marry. And don't let that sexual deviant live next door to me. That one thing that they latch onto, they grab those people. And they're enough, like 5%, 7%, 12%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that right there, just 3 issues, if they're 5, 7, and 12%, that's a quarter of your voter base.
I think that, though, they basically, you saw the same base showed up for the first guy that is an atheist. Trump is an atheist. So how conservative is the base then?
Well, that's just it. Where did you find out he was an atheist? Was it the Washington Post?
I don't know. Look, based on the way that Trump behaves,
there's no way.
There's no fucking way.
Yeah, he's not going to church. But I guarantee
the way he talks
after he gets inaugurated, that first Sunday, that motherfucker will be in a church somewhere because the Republicans will pick one for him.
Yeah, maybe. He'll play along. Look at Hillary is an outed atheist, but she plays the same.
Well, Bill goes to church.
The same show.
He went to church.
Yeah.
Bill's not an atheist.
You don't think Bill Clinton's an atheist?
Fuck no.
Really?
Come on, he cheated on his wife. Of course he's not an atheist. That's bread and butter what an evangelical would do. Everybody knows this.
I heard he fucked a bunch of kids on an airplane to fucking some fucking child rapist island thing.
That he was supported by a guy who did stuff like that.
Yeah, well, he pardoned that guy though.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right.
That guy was fucking found guilty of child sex trafficking, and then on Bill Clinton's way out, he pardoned him. That guy bought a fucking island down in fucking Aruba or fucking Cuba or
somewhere in the Caribbean.
Somewhere in the Caribbean, and then they showed that like Bill Clinton had flown there like 56 times, and even Hillary had been there like 12 times. So I don't know. I think that the conservatives will be I don't think they're conservative.
Like I said, there's the socially conservative, then there's the fiscally conservative.
No, that's what I'm saying.
They are moving to the fiscally. We're now getting on the same page that, you know what? Racism is a thing. We need to quit that. Worrying about who somebody's fucking. We need to quit that. Worrying about whether somebody's a woman or not. We need to quit that. We need to just take people as they are. And I think that's kind of expanding. That's growing beyond the confines of the traditionally, for at least the past 30, 40 years, leftist Democratic Party. Whereas the Republicans are now starting to get on board with it. They're still not okay with it because there's still a lot of people that, y'all shouldn't kill babies. Don't take my guns. But as far as the social aspect of it goes, I think everybody's cool with it. And again, it's going to be one of those things where we probably need to just wait and see how things come out and see what happens. I'll put it this way. I got a lot bigger fish to fry right now. I'm worried about getting time off for Christmas so I can go back and see my moms and my family. And, yeah, as long as Trump don't fuck with the airplanes until then, I'm okay with it.
I think the other thing, too, is like people forget that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of gay marriage with a 5-4 in favor of conservative ideals.
Oh, you mean those Republican judges that
yeah
Reagan put in? Yeah, all right.
Exactly. So, it was 5 conservative judges versus 4 liberal judges, and they voted in favor of gay marriage. I think that you see that turning of the time. God, it's going to be so interesting just because of all the unknowns, just not knowing what the fuck is going to happen, and seeing it unfold. The other thing is, like, if Trump does a halfway decent job, which he has the opportunity to do, right? Because we're kind of over the Great Recession. We're, at least market-wise, we're over the Great Recession. We're not in any huge catastrophic wars right now. So Trump has about as of like a clean, unshaky slate, like as anybody could really ask for as a president. I mean, there's nothing really super crazy going on. We're not at, there's no terrorist attack has happened here for a while. We're not at war with any particular country. The markets are doing strong. But the economy kind of still sucks for the middle class and the lower class. If he does come out and kind of solve some of the bigger issues, like Hillary wanted to do, which was just tweak Obamacare, fine tune the law, keep tweaking it as you go along, figure out what the problems are, make more laws, keep adjusting it. Trump's going to do the same thing, except for if Trump does and Obamacare looks great, it'll be Trump solved Obamacare. He'll be able to take all the fucking credit. He'll be able to take all the credit for a great economy. He'll be able to take all the credit for a peacetime, a relatively peaceful, non-warring thing. If he does fix trade, it'll be more points to him. And suddenly we'll have this president that looks like he did a fucking amazing job with no political experience. And he could set a trend of like never having a career politician as the president of the United States ever again. I'm saying he could.
He could, but that's possible, but not probable. I'll say this: first of all, the ACA that is literally a podcast or two unto itself. That literally could be done in one whole hour, all on its own, and still not be enough.
It definitely would not be enough.
But what I want to know, and I don't want to get into the issue of it, but I think it's safe to say that whether you believe climate change is a thing, whether you accept the evidence as it is or you don't, and regardless of what you think of Trump and who he's going to appoint as the head of EPA and what he believes, at the end of the day, I think you would say it's a smart move to, if you own your own property, to put solar panels on it, right?
I think we're basically crossing that whatever that line on a chart would be, where like the expense and the time of return, like the cost efficiency of it. I think we're basically bridging that point where
putting solar panels on your roof means, yeah, you would do this.
Right.
This would make sense from an economic standpoint.
I don't think it's not at the point where you would tear off your existing roof just to put it on. But if you're building a new one or you need to redo your roof, then it makes sense. But if you have like a good roof right now, probably doesn't make that much sense to tear $20,000 worth of good roof off to install, say, like an Elon Musk, one.
Right. But if you wanted to put up a couple of solar panels and, save yourself $20 a month on your utilities, yeah, that makes sense. Carter put them on. Carter had them on the White House back in the 70s. That's what he did. Peanut farmer from Georgia did that shit. Reagan, first weekend, tore them off.
Well, Reagan was a piece of shit. I mean, people don't realize that, like, the people who lived in Reagan's era, that America was assholes. That America was
cocaine.
It was cocaine. It was black people are second-class citizens.
Yeah.
That America was so different. This thing. Oh, this has been pissing me off. I've been seeing, because of all the protests and stuff. So everybody's been, throwing up on Facebook. This is how Reagan deals with protesters. Have you seen that little clip thing?
Yeah.
But they have no understanding of the context behind that clip. Nobody realizes that clip is reporters trying to drill him over the fact that he sent in the National Guard to UC Berkeley, and they fucking shotgun blasted. They dropped tear gas from helicopters, and they killed student and faculty members at a fucking university that was a public university. So it was virtually tuition free, and he was trying to jack up the tuition. He was trying to partition off property from the school to public grounds. He was trying to dismantle this idea of public university education. Again, there's just Reagan marks such a dramatic change in political policy that we still feel massive effects from. We still feel like massive effects.
What he did as far as economic policy goes is huge and far-reaching.
But kids died. People were kids were shot with shotguns.
Yeah,
there was a guy on a rooftop with a fucking rifle sniping people from the top of a building from the National Guard over kids who had basically erected like a shitty chain link fence at like 4 a.m. to try to stop them from making this small, like little grassy area like a public park instead of being for the university students. Mm-hmm. And Reagan had already got the university president fired. Reagan had, within 3 days of being the governor of California, made some phone calls, got the guy fired. He started cutting off funding for sociology, psychology classes, liberal arts, any of that stuff. Anything that he thought would be remotely tied to, like, communism. Anything that in his mind that was like free thinking, free speech. What are you, a bunch of...
should have just closed Berkeley altogether.
He was basically, that's what they thought he was going to do. And the students and the faculty together, you got to keep this in mind, that there was no rift between the students and the faculty. It was students pissed off at what the government was doing to their college. And so you see this little snippet of Reagan saying, like, yeah, those kids are out of control and they can't decide what rules that they want to follow. So what? Fucking shoot them? That's what his fucking answer was? Just go fucking shoot them. Just go shoot... Back then, they like it's kind of strange because you look and you go, yeah, an 18-year-old, like technically legally they're an adult, but even at like 30, 32 years old, I look at an 18-year-old and go, that's still a child.
There's a lot of life. They have
so much like learning still. I mean, they're kids, and the idea that you're going to go shoot children because they're protesting. I mean, look at the way people freak the fuck out now when police officers just mace students, right? Like if you mace kids at a college campus, like you will feel like the regressive left's like untold wrath like upon you. Like the media will come down fucking on you. Like how dare you mace 18, 19, and 20-year-old students. Reagan was just a piece of shit. Reagan would go against what every modern day conservative would be pissed off about. Reagan created amnesty for like 3 million illegal immigrants. Show me one Republican that would think that that's a good idea today. They would be pissed off. the traditional Republican would be pissed off if we just created that. I need to keep checking the time. All right.
No, I'm actually just looking. My phone's going off. So. I got eBay auctions.
Nice. The kids. I want to go back to the climate change thing.
That has been a huge thing.
It is. Do you think he'll be death on the climate change?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Hey, this guy who, claimed that climate change is something the Chinese made up to break down our industrial complex. That's it's hard to say. Yeah, he's going to be responsive to anything anybody says in that line. I don't know. That's the thing. We've got no track record with this guy to go on.
I know. We have no track record.
So all we've got is his Twitter account. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we've got.
I know. That's it. And that's a guy who's, again, talking off the cuff. He's not calculated in his word decisions.
Oh, look, come on. Look,
but I like that.
There's been, look, even AT&T when they did their little contest or whatever over the past year about, hey, you could go to the Super Bowl or whatever. And they had, like, ancient sports figures, legends, doing whatever. They had a guy who's like, yeah, I got an intern who does my Twitter account for me. Trump doesn't do his own Twitter account.
You don't think so?
I think he goes and tells somebody to do it, and if they don't do it, he fires them.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Look, I'll just say I actually wrote this down in my notes. We covered some of the stuff I wrote down. I just read a paper. It's not a paper. I read the article of a paper, and it's pretty much like the third one I've read in the last year and a half that shows. So for the first time now, the rate of CO2 growth, the rate of growth in the atmosphere has slowed down in spite of the fact that our rate of CO2 emissions has continued to increase. So we're starting to hit this transition. So we're continuing to put more CO2 in the air, more CO2 in the air. And then, you measure the air and you're like, yep, CO2 is going up, CO2 is going up. But now CO2 has stopped increasing. It is not going up anymore. Well,
now, wait a minute. You said the rate of growth. That's
the rate
like
of
saying,
growth.
I'm still accelerating. I'm just not going as fast.
Correct. But
so we're still increasing it. It's still there. It's just not doing it as fast as it was before.
That's correct. And this, so basically what's happening with the paper is, they run all their fucking crazy models and do all these tests and shit, try to explain like what the fuck's going on. Mm-hmm. And it comes to the same conclusion as some of the other papers that I've read about. And that is basically plants, they live off of CO2, right? That's their intake. They build themselves out of CO2.
Right.
So the more CO2 that's in the air, the faster plants grow. And over the past several decades, plants have been growing at an increased rate of speed. And so now the plant growth has gotten to the point where plants have grown so much larger and so much faster that they're starting to actually drive down the CO2 in the air, despite the fact that we keep increasing it, because there's they're starting to keep pace with what we're adding. Though
right. We're still outpacing them.
We're still outpacing them, right?
It's just not as fast as it was.
Exactly. And then the thing shows that lots of greenhouses have done effects where they show that if you pump inside of a greenhouse 500 times the atmospheric level of CO2, you see like dramatic increases of plants, growth rate, speed. It's just never been really. It's not a practical application to just go around filling greenhouses with a bunch of CO2. But basically, we're nowhere near that. We're nowhere near 500 times the levels. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting because you see like the environment does respond. It makes sense that, at one point there wasn't a very oxygen-rich environment on our planet at all. It wasn't until plants figured out a way to convert CO2 into building themselves that they started, expelling, oxygen. And then the oxygen richness of the atmosphere became so fucking great that it only took a small trigger of some whatever organisms that were on the planet to figure out how to use oxygen as an energy resource. And then you see the explosion of, mammals and all this other, type of shit. Basically, you had trees and plants all over the place in the oceans for, a billion years, and there's nothing really else. And then eventually, like, boom, like, fucking mammals and all this other shit picks up. But the oxygen had to reach such a high level that bacteria had to figure out a way to do something with that. And all it took one mutation, and then suddenly it's like, oh, this one thing can capitalize on all this free resource food that nothing else is using. And then so you get like this runaway trend of all those species exploding. There's still a bunch of other negative effects. There's still like acidification of the ocean. All the coral reefs are pretty much gone. Like there's pretty much no reefs.
Came out with one today that said the Japanese
They're
reefs
dead.
are just shot.
Reefs are gone. But then I saw a paper on reefs that they showed that just like any other plant life, they need nitrogen to grow, right? Nitrogen has to be like plentiful, and one thing that is in piss is nitrogen. Mm-hmm. And this study was saying that it may not necessarily be the temperatures of the ocean that are increasing the death of the coral reef. It's the lack of fish. The overfishing has killed the fish populations, and so the fish are not urinating on the reefs, which they need to bring the nitrogen levels to the reefs in order for them to grow. So it's just another, bad fucking thing. Is we're overfishing the whole fucking planet. I mean, there's a bunch of fucking problems besides just CO2 emissions. I don't know what the answer is, but the other thing I think that we've passed this threshold. Like, you got the Elon Musk is about to like wipe out all fucking combustion engines in probably the next 5 or 10 years. I can't imagine the next 5 or 10 years there will be very many combustion engines going along.
It depends. It depends on how quickly he can get things to market and how cheaply he can do it. $30K, $35K for a car. Still, a lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, that's great," but when I drove off the lot with my car, I lost a quarter of its value to a half. Now I drive off the lot. Yeah, somebody may still buy it because the demand's still there because he's not cranking it out. But 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, when the batteries are at 60% of what they were, I can barely get to work and back on a charge. Who's going to buy that? Nobody's going to buy that shit.
I totally agree with you, but I don't think that's the way the market will play out. I honestly think that the sharing economy will kick in. So you're going to end up dispersing all of those costs where, like, instead of...
We won't be driving by that point.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because the electric car is coming out at the same rate of self-driving cars, that you're going to have huge investment from companies that are looking towards the future and realizing that if I'm Ford, I'm not going to be selling very many cars for personal ownership. I'm going to be making ride-sharing taxi services where people are going to buy into plans and tiers, and just getting a car when they need one, and that's it. And otherwise they don't. Half the country lives in a dense city. The other half is sprawled out. So you can So I think that, the people who live on a farm, who have live out in the rural areas, they'll probably be the last people to try to get some sort of electric car because the efficiency won't be so great for them right away. But all the major cities, like Los Angeles, is ripe for self-driving automotive cars. Clear up the traffic, reduce these expenses. I don't think Trump is going to. I don't know. I just don't see the economy coming back to the point where Joe Schmo is making $30 an hour. I think that constructions, labor, factory, all those jobs are gone forever. So people are looking to save money. If I could get rid of my car, I don't even own it. I own my car like outright. I've owned it outright for a long time, but I just have to have it because a couple times a week I got to drive, 10 miles to school. Otherwise I would just walk down to the store. But I don't want the car. I don't want it. I don't like having to drive up to my old man's house to change the fucking oil and rotate the fucking tires, and I hate having to pay fucking insurance every goddamn month for a car that I barely fucking drive. I hate changing the goddamn windshield wipers. Like, it doesn't even rain out here, but when I need to change it's just hot and dry, so the windshield wiper is just kind of like, plastic just decays from the fucking sun radiation. So it's like I got to buy new windshield wipers every year for the 5 minutes that it fucking rains.
For the one 5 to 7 minute stretch that you'd actually use them.
That I would actually use them, and it's like fuck. And
the thing is we know it's going to rain with some degree of certainty. I mean, it's like, is it going to rain tomorrow?
It's definitely not raining tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
No,
Take
I
them
know.
Off. Put them inside.
Take them off.
Take them off.
But eventually I get like a bug splat, or some homeless person takes a shit on my windshield, at night.
You pull over. There's like a gas station literally right there.
That's what I do. I have like the shitty, I don't even turn the windshield wipers on. I just pull into a gas station and like wipe them down, at the gas station. But I would rather not have a car. I love the Uber service. I love the concept behind it. I just think it's a better alternative for almost every situation possible, like going downtown. Like if we go downtown to the comedy company that's down there, I wouldn't dream of taking my own fucking car down there. Never. I would never take my fucking car down. There's no place to park.
Well, there's park it on market. That's it.
It's just not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. I'd rather pay the $8 down there and then the $8 back, and I'm done.
Is it $8? It's probably not even that.
It might not.
Depends on the surge price.
Surge pricing, right? But it's not worth it to go to Rob's house because Rob's house, the parking's open and it's literally 3 minutes away. But since I can park there, it's still worth it to take my own car over to Rob's house or or to school. I just think that once that sharing economy explodes, then it will become super cheap. I think that once that's the main... Look, okay, how about this? Let's just break it down like fucking shitty back of the envelope with no envelope and no pencil math.
Okay.
Uber takes like what? 10%, 15% of whatever the total bill is?
Maybe. I don't know. Steven would be the best person to ask about that.
So if my ride down to downtown is $10 and Uber's taking $1 of that, that means $9 is going to the driver. When there's no driver, what's the ride going to cost? $3 just to maintain the car?
Oh, hell no. No, it's still going to be the same price because they've already got us used to paying.
No, I don't think so.
They may give us a slight break.
I think they're going to go way down.
Let me ask you this. Every time there's some major thing that happens, gas stations literally, even though they won't get that refined oil as gasoline for weeks, or at least a week, they instantly jack up the prices.
No,
but when things go back our way, it takes them a few days to start ticking down a cent or two.
Of course, I definitely understand. But see, right now, there's not really any competition for Uber. There's not any real competition. When Ford gets in the market and Mercedes gets in the market and their Tesla is there, right? That will be real competition.
Well, Tesla is the market. That's what it's going to do. Like they're going to eventually they're going to say, okay, we can drive you to your destination where you've got a parking space, like to work or to a grocery store. We can do that. We can take over the heavy lifting on the freeways. That's step one. Step two is end-to-end destination control. You get in the car, it's already charged, then we go wherever. We take you there and we find somewhere to park. If we got to drive around for 15 minutes after we dropped you off, sure, we'll do that. We will find a place. The thing is, then they'll start communicating. There will be an end part of the network, the server side of it, if you will, that says, oh, well, I know I dropped off X number of people that already did this. So they're all parked here. I can fit in a space. I can get these people to move. They can organize it better.
Oh yeah, I don't think you'll ever get back into the same car. You would take the car to wherever, the mall, right?
Oh no, you'll get back in the same car because you bought that car. They're not taking away individual
bought the car.
They're not taking away individual ownership yet because they still want to give you that sense of freedom. That's the whole point.
I think that,
but now they know where you go and what you do.
I think
there.
It'll quickly turn into a situation where you go online and you just subscribe to a service. So you're going to pay whatever it is, $100 a month for just unlimited rides. And you'll get like a certain tier of car, right? Like you have access to this level of sedan. You have access for $50 a month, unlimited like little smart go cars, right? Where it's just like barely one and a half persons, can fit like in the car. You and maybe a baby, right? That one of those little like things.
You and your backpack.
You and your backpack. Yep, to school. That's unlimited rides for $50 a month, right? But then if you want, and there'll be plans, right? So you're like, okay, so this plan for $150, I can get unlimited sedan rides. I can get 4 SUV rides, a weekend, whatever, one for each weekend. There'll be like services and plans because some days you're going to want to take one that go camping, and sometimes you're going to want to take one just to school. And they'll all be self-automated. Then you're going to have like Mercedes and Ford or whoever. I don't know who they are, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be these big traditional auto producers will start making specific trucks for Amazon, for Walmart, for Coca-Cola, where like the freight truck like drives it fucking itself. The whole thing will be based on all this automated fucking system. And the idea of you owning like, why would you want to buy one car and that's the one size? There is no vehicle that serves every fucking purpose, right? There's cars where a small compact coupe is the way to go. And then there's other families and situations where you need the SUV because you got fucking 12 kids and you're going camping or whatever it is. You're going to the lake or to Lake Tahoe or, Havasu or some shit like that. So I think that's actually, it's the smarter direction to go because it leaves you options for all the different stuff you have. And if you pay $200 a month and you consider that you never have to buy tires, you never have to fucking replace the engine, you never have to have insurance, you never have to pay for registration, suddenly $200 a month is a fucking hell of a deal.
But then you've already killed all the people working at the DMV. You've killed all the people that work in the insurance industry.
Good. You've
killed all the mechanics. You've killed all the people at dealerships.
My dick's getting hard. Keep going.
But how do they get paid?
I've killed all the CHP. Right? There's no CHP.
No, they'll still be there. They'll be severely cut.
For what? What are we looking at? I don't know what we're looking at. Food?
Take a moment. What is it?
Find the time, take a break, and we can order food.
You gonna order food? Just order food, whatever you want.
Well, I think you should take a break and let's order food.
If we're gonna take a break, I'll just close it because we've already been talking for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah. So we'll cut this part out, and then we'll go back to what we're talking about and finish up in like
do you want to
15
just
minutes.
order? What are you looking at? I just look like.
I told her Fiore's Pizza because they're good pizza.
Oh, okay.
They deliver, right?
Yeah.
So can you buy it?
They're just over in Hillcrest.
Do they deliver?
Yeah.
What do
Okay.
you want?
I'm going home after this, so I'll be fine.
Here,
Don't worry
just
about
use my card.
That still trips me out that you got that in your phone and it doesn't like demagnetize it.
No,
About
it's
pepperoni
fucking bullshit,
sausage.
man.
Do you
That's
like
the
that?
bullshit that fucking hotels have been lying about for years.
What?
That the cell phones demagnetize your cards. What?
It does demagnetize. Why can't
Does it have cheese on it?
Yeah.
Does the pizza have
But
cheese
it
on it?
also has pepperoni, sausage, and Canadian bacon. Is that okay?
My God.
You hate sausage.
No, it's fine. Seriously. If it has cheese and sauce,
What size? Giant?
I don't know.
What size?
You might as well just go medium.
Medium's enough for 2 people.
I'm not that hungry, and you barely ever eat more than 2 slices of any pizza ever that shows up.
Are you going to just shame me for the rest of my life?
And they'll bring
Yes.
you booze.
Ooh, what kind of...
I don't want any booze. I don't want any booze.
No, they deliver all kinds of
Do
stuff.
they deliver weed?
No, I don't know. If you got to know him pretty good, maybe. He's a pretty cool guy. So
Okay.
they're just over in Hillcrest. That's a straight shot down University.
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes I have to call them.
Okay, can you call him in a different room? Okay, thanks, baby. Could you go outside to the street and make the phone call from there?
No.
I think that there's a couple of experiments for like this basic income concept, right? The ultimate welfare.
It's a thing, and I want to see how it goes. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, are we evolving to the Star Trek universe?
I don't think there's any other way.
Nobody ever buys anything in Star Trek.
Yeah, because they don't have the problem of scarcity, right? Scarcity doesn't exist.
It does. That's where DS9 comes into play. But
Yeah, but that's bullshit. It's a bullshit Star Trek.
That's some
fucking series.
Ferengi shit is what
Yeah.
that is. But no,
It's fucking
it's-
stupid.
No, that's the thing. It's like, are we getting to that point though, where we all will basically just do what needs to be done to make sure we get shit accomplished?
No, I don't think that's the way it'll happen at all. I
And
think
we
right.
can't have a basic income.
No, I think what will happen is most people will just do whatever their own personal interests are, whatever they are. I think that's it. And a lot of those personal interests will just benefit the general public in some way or another. I think that the rate of artificial intelligence growth being exponential is we'll have a core group of people that pretty much apply any type of problem. I truly believe that all of humanity's problems are just simple engineering problems. I think that's it. I think if we can't figure out like the CO2 shit, we're going to end up building giant fucking oxygen scrubbers.
I don't
CO2
think,
scrubbers.
I don't think kiddie porn is a simple engineering problem.
Really? I think it is.
No, it's not.
Kiddie porn? Oh yeah, you could totally have a program that trolls the internet looking for digital matches, and
So
then
how
just
do you
eliminate.
get people to stop doing that?
That
You don't want to solve the symptom. You want to solve the action. You want to cure.
the idea that some people are
Hardwired to like 8
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe at that point, you're just engineering a virus that goes in and hits a certain part of the brain and restructures it. You know, I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't feel like that's a big societal problem. I think.
Yeah.
Look,
That's going to be a hard push to some parent.
let me ask you this: do you think that somebody wakes up and says, like, God, I can't wait to grow up and run my own business of kidnapping small children and having them raped so that I can put it on the internet and make money from it?
I don't think a 6-year-old does that. No, they want to be.
You don't think that most people are driven to those markets because there's so little competition and the windfall is so huge, and in the regular system these people can't make any money, so they end up like going to these dark markets because they're basically either pushed out of society. They're going to it because I'll just use the drug stuff for example, right? You see a lot of drug stuff going on in the impoverished parts of society because those are the things that the regular class of people don't do for a living. So since there's still demand for drug use and it's risky, and the people who have really, they're at the bottom end of the stick. So from their perspective, it's like, what else do I have to lose? Then those end up doing the criminal activities because there's less global competition for that. And it's a good way to make money. I think that falls into that same type of category. I think that kiddie porn exists, to service the desires of a small percentage of the populace. But I think if those people had ways to make a fortune or basic income, whatever, right? They didn't actually need it to begin with. Then I don't think people would risk their lives.
I think in some degrees it's a choice.
It's definitely
like,
a choice.
Like, okay, for example, when I was in Alabama, basically for a while, the only thing I thought I could do was go to work at McDonald's. There was one just down the street, literally less than 2 blocks walk. And I could have said, okay, I'll do this. It's income. I'm doing something. It's paying the bills. I mean, at the time, it would have been $6.50 an hour. I could have got 40 hours a week. That's more than enough to go in and survive and pay my bills and get things done and make sure that's okay. Or, I could sell weed. I'd make double the money easily, but I run the risk of getting in trouble with the law,
Yeah, but a lot of people working at the McDonald's isn't even an option. They've already done some other thing that
for some,
right,
I think the majority of people in kiddie porn, it was an option.
I think that generally speaking, because this is all we can really talk about, is that there are a lot of people who are convicted criminals, and they're not going to pass a regular background check even for a McDonald's, and so they stick to the crime because that's where the opportunities are there for them.
Well, that's because they did something before.
Right, but they could have done something at 14 or 15 years old that has now stricken their record for the rest of their life. That's not fair.
If McDonald's was seriously, I mean, it depends on what they did. But then we're getting really granular. And
There's
we're looking at too
90
specific.
million people unemployed in the United States alone. Even McDonald's isn't enough of an option for all 90 million people. There are not that many people want McDonald's. Yeah, I think you'd make a better argument for Starbucks than
Okay,
McDonald's
then there's Starbucks, there's
full.
Burger King, there's Wendy's,
But you're not
there's
going
McCafe.
But you're not going to support a family on a Starbucks wage.
No, you're not, and you should have kept it in your fucking pants and not made stupid decisions.
Though then you're expecting humans to not be humans, and that's unreasonable. You're expecting people that are living in a shitty situation that got nothing but time to kill to not fuck, right? They're going to do drugs.
To not have a family.
Yeah, but then you have part of the culture that says you shouldn't take birth control, and you shouldn't have abortions, and like you're asking people to not do what is inherently the most human thing that you could possibly do, and that's fuck.
No, I'm asking them not to procreate. That's a difference than fucking.
But it's
You can
hard to
still
not
fuck.
procreate if you can't afford condoms and birth control regularly.
You can get a condom for 75 cents in a gas station.
Here, there are parts. I think that it's an overall epidemic of uneducation, right? It's this idea that you have these city areas where there's places where they literally call it a food drought because no food is grown within like 100 square miles, and there's not really any grocery stores. There's only like liquor stores. Mm-hmm. And so when people go to get food, they have their choices of fast food or the type of food that you can buy at a liquor store. People that are born and raised and grow up in this environment, they're not really getting the education that seems so painfully obvious to you and me. I think it's unfair to try to penalize those people that I'm not saying that those people are inherently stupid. I'm just saying that they're not afforded the same level of opportunity with just even general basic needs. When you're a baby and you're growing up and your mom's fucking dietary supplements consist of fucking Cheetos, and macaroni and cheese, like how good of a shot does that fucking baby have? And then you want that kid to like just grow up and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not really getting the opportunity that I should be getting around here. Let me scratch up a few bucks and move myself and start, where the economic opportunity is greater for me. I don't feel like that's realistic.
But that's actually what all of them do. It's
Some
like,
of them.
What we're told,
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm going to sell drugs until I get enough money to move off this block and do something with my life. Or I'm going to play ball. Pick your ball of choice, round or oblong, small, big. And I'm going to do that until I can get into a college. And then if I get good enough at ball, I will keep playing ball and make an obscene, like literally obscene amount of money doing it. Or if I'm not that good, I will go ahead and get a degree as long as I don't fuck up while I'm there or fuck up too much. And then I will sell used cars or RVs or something. But I'll do whatever.
I feel like that's not.
That's the mindset of a lot of people.
I think
in those areas.
I think that there are more situations like this where you're a kid and your mom has barely a high school education. Maybe your dad is in jail or not in jail, and just going to school is a struggle because there's gangs that are running drug routes and drug territories, and just you trying to walk to school, there's either people trying to force you into the gang or sell you the fucking drugs. And you have no built-in defense mechanisms as a human being to just not be part of the tribe that you can clearly see is in power and control. And so you're trying to navigate this drug culture that's seething around you that wants you to do drugs or sell drugs. And then once you get into the selling drugs, if you don't do drugs, now you're part of the war. You're part of the gang war that's trying to dominate control over the drugs. If you can navigate all of that shit while you have hardly any food and are real, when I say food, I mean real food, like fucking vegetables and whole meats and all that kind of stuff, while your parents are ignorant as shit, and you live in an area where the police fucking harass you every day because they know that most people are in this drug war that's permeated the entire area, and the police are fucking with you every day as well, just because you just randomly, not that they're necessarily targeting you, they're just targeting fucking everybody. I think the expectations of the majority of people growing up in that situation are way too fucking high. I think they're way too fucking high. And I think we see that absolute academic that breakdown is clear. It's totally clear, because if you pull those people out and you put them somewhere else, they do way fucking better. But you leave them in that ghetto, and they just become part of the ghetto. They become part of the system. It's not statistically insignificant to look at the prison system and then realize that 65% of them are black African Americans that come from the impoverished, socioeconomically deprived sections of the society, where these people are in this horrible fucked up cycle. They're in this horrible fucked up cycle. So how do you get them fucking out? How do you break up that fucking cycle? It's like trying to go to Iraq and tell these people to stop being fucking psycho extremist Muslims, right? How do you change the whole fucking culture without inciting massive rage and violence against this outside pressure that's asking you to change everything you think and know?
Well, instead of incarcerate, you educate and rehabilitate. Instead of just locking them up and punishing, find a way to like diagnose the problem, get at the root, not treat the symptom.
Wouldn't a basic income be a better idea if you gave these people, when I say basic, I don't know what that number is, but let's just say it's enough, that these people can make their own decision on where they think the best place for them to get the fuck out and go to is. So not everybody wants to go to Texas. Not everybody wants to go to Seattle, Washington. Not everybody wants to try to go to New York. But you give them enough cash so they can grab whatever piece of family they have and go fucking somewhere and get the fuck out of there, and then try to escape that impoverished area.
That's you assuming that you can tell them this is the best thing to do, because they're not going to come up with that on their own.
No, they're not. But that's what I'm saying. But at least you give them the opportunity to make that decision.
So you have to say, here's a few grand. This place is no good for you. GTFO. And they're going to listen to you in every case?
Not every case, but maybe enough. A slow attrition, right? You want a slow attrition. You don't want to just destroy the city by everybody vacating all at once, right? That's not going to be good either. Maybe some people just go to a different part of town. Maybe they just go to the other side of the state. It's
and lower their neighbors' property values? Is that?
I actually think that, like if you look at like California, where we do like the Section 8 housing type stuff, where you take a really nice neighborhood and then you force a very small percentage of that area to accept Section 8 housing qualified people. I think that's brilliant, because you take people that are impoverished and you put them in a circle, a climate of people who are, relatively fine, whatever measure of success you want to call that, but they're fine. And then they see, right? You've changed their cultural perspective around. You go like, oh, wow, all these people are kind of abiding by the laws and the rules and they're getting along great. Maybe this is the better way to fucking go. But you're not, like we did the ghetto thing in the Bronx, right? Where you just built a bunch of fucking straight box vertical buildings and you put all the poor impoverished people in one spot. And like crabs in a bucket, they all kept each other down because they're all still struggling and scrambling together with each other. And nobody can get the fuck out, because anybody tries to get out, the other crab, pulls you fucking back in.
Well, what they did is they created a microeconomy where basically they do what they need to do to survive. And they don't understand that, this only elevates one or two people to a level that's actually decent, but they realize, I'm getting my end, so I'm okay.
I just think people are kind of like, they're kind of like water, right? They go the path of like least resistance. And if you give them $1,500 a month, you do a couple of things. Number one, you give those people an opportunity to participate in the regular economy, and they have dollars to vote with. They become part of the economy that decides whether Android or iPhone is the more success, right? They start participating in that market. They start deciding whether Vans or Nikes are the better shoe brand, or which types of shirts to buy. They become back integrated into that market. One of the best things that you can do for a business, if you want to promote hiring, which ultimately, that's kind of an economic strategy we have. We talk about unemployment. How do we decrease unemployment? How do we get businesses to hire more people? Well, you make them more customers, because that's one of the few and only measurable bars that will say, if you have a target or a Walmart or a Verizon store or a car wash, and you have only enough employees to meet the service demands of the customers that come in. It doesn't matter how many tax breaks you give them, how many windfalls of cash. If the business has no incentive to hire more people, then they'll just do other shit with that money. It doesn't just make them hire more people for no reason. You only hire more employees to meet the service demands of customers. So if you took whatever, a couple of million people who are basically out of the economy and you suddenly put them in with $1,500 a month, suddenly you just like magnified the customer base for all these other surrounding businesses, however many X-fold. Because now all these people are going to Walmart or are going to McDonald's just to eat or going to wherever, and suddenly the demand of service goes up, and that business will say, oh, fuck, I used to only have 10 people that came in the store an hour. Now I've got 15 people coming in the store an hour, and I've got to keep lines down or shelves stocked or whatever, so now I must hire more people. That's how you make a business actually want to hire more people. I see. That's why I'm really in favor of the argument of the $15 minimum wage, even though I still think that that's too low. Because the minute you bump everybody's wage from $6.75 to $15, suddenly more people will go to the movies, more people will go out to eat, more people will buy that shit. And when you have a rich person who, like my boss, multimillionaire, if you give him extra money, he's not going to really do shit with it. Because he's already got all the pairs of pants and fancy shoes and the 3 cars in his super fancy apartment in downtown. He doesn't need more haircuts than me. He doesn't really need to eat more food than I do. Like we're already eating the same amount of food. So he's just going to like invest it in some other company that's not necessarily going to result in any hiring of somebody. You know, giving like my boss a tax break, that doesn't really necessarily stimulate the economy. He's just going to go store that money in an investment somewhere else. Where if you interject money at the bottom where the people are don't have enough money, they will instantly go fucking spend that shit. You know, the people at the bottom who need to buy baby food or condoms or birth control or a backpack for school or a pair of shoes, those people will go spend that instantaneously. It's still not enough. $1,500 for somebody who makes almost nothing or is unemployed. That $1,500 ain't going to no savings account.
But doesn't that tell you something?
What's that?
Well, I mean, doesn't what you've been saying tell you something about the way money works? In that you talked about how many lottery winners end up going broke because they spent their money and invested it foolishly. You talk about people getting a basic income and spending it on bare necessities. But yet, rich people who have a ton of money...
Why is that not the pizza place that Chad talked about?
They won't deliver here.
Oh.
Fiore's doesn't go this far?
No.
It's not that far.
She basically got...
They don't have self-driving cars, bro.
She basically got kind of annoyed and was like, oh, we just don't deliver there. And I'm like, well, my friend's here, and he lives just down the way.
Just, do you not know what I order? I've ordered the same pizza.
That's what I'm putting in.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Good job then. You good?
I'm busy.
Go ahead. Okay, so you left off with...
So basically, like, you've got all these people with universal income are going to buy basic necessities,
Yes.
the things they need,
mm-hmm.
and then there's going to be, you know, these rich people who already have the things they need, and they have things they want, and they're just going to invest this money somewhere else. To me, it's a mindset thing. It's not a how much money you have thing. Like, if you're used to having that much money, then yeah, okay, fine. You will invest it and do other things with it. But if you're not used to having that much money, yeah, they'll get $1,500 and they'll say, okay, then I'll buy the food, I'll buy the clothes, I'll buy the stuff I need. They're not going to go out and buy condoms because they don't know any better. They're not going to go out and buy proper food. They're not going to get like rice and grains, beans, things you can put on the shelf and leave for a while because they don't have that, oh, we lived through a time where things were really bad and austerity and blah, 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 depression. We had to deal with this, so you need to do this. They don't have that knowledge. They don't have that instilled in them from a previous generation or two. They basically will say, oh, well, now I've got this money. I'm going to go out and buy the latest iPhone or the latest Samsung that's not going to blow up or the whatever. They're going to do that because they see they're going to say, oh, I'm going to go out and buy a necklace. I'm going to buy a car, and I'm going to get little tiny rubber band, low-profile tires that aren't going to do shit for my handling, the comfort of ride, or last that long.
It's okay, but that's okay. That's
Is
okay.
it?
Yeah, it is, because you've still stimulated the economy.
And
You've
not
initiated more hiring. You
getting
get the positive.
out of the ghetto. They're not rising above where they're at already. They're just doing what they do and just elevating what they want to do, not what they need to do. Like, if you took your boss and you said, okay, I'm going to take out all your money. I'm going to take everything you got, and I'm going to leave you that way for 6 months. You literally have no income for 6 months. You can't live off your investments. I'm taking all your money, all your credit cards. Your bank accounts are frozen. You have just the clothes in your closet and just the food in your pantry. Would he live for 6 months?
Yeah, of course he was, because he's already got a fucking 4-year, university degree.
But no, so he would get out and get another job.
I don't think he would get a job. He'd go out and con more people into money and financing, and he knows how to play that game already.
He learned how to do it.
He's already got it down.
Yeah. So,
but he's been doing it since he was 16. He learned right from his dad. He learned right from the source.
There you go. And the thing is it comes down to not giving them what we think they need. It's giving them what we know they need. We know they need to be like. It's like you're not going to go in and buy.
We don't
condoms.
know what they need.
Neither do they, though. In that case,
it doesn't. But see, you get the benefit. You get the benefit of them spending the money regardless of what they spend it on. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So there's already that benefit. That kicks in no matter what. So it already increases the economy for everyone, regardless whether they buy fucking tires or iPhones. How many fucking iPhones can they buy for every month? They're just going to buy fucking. They're going to go.
As long as they keep coming out with a new model.
Well, that's only every 2 years.
That's every 1 year now.
Oh, great. But realistically, I mean, they're not going to buy an iPhone every fucking month. That's just not going to happen. And
well,
even
not
if they
everybody's
do,
going to be on the same yearly cycle. It's going to be staggered depending on where they are.
And that's fine. And guess what? That will probably put more iPhone sales and more business into all the little individual cell phone shops, whether they're chain or corporate, right? You'll have more of that. There'll be more app sales. There'll be more, you're still going to stimulate the economy. I'm not saying that it just, there's, you can, whatever, you want to be part of the program that gets basic income, then we also get to mail you a flyer, or some sort of educational resource, or you have to keep your kids in school. And part of going to school is that you got to go to parent teacher whatever once every 2 months, and maybe there's a 30-minute thing on buying fucking rice and learning how to budget the $1,500. Or maybe there's the people that live on just welfare and they only get $800 a month, and $500 of that goes to their rent. You give them this $1,500, and suddenly they might go, you know what? I think I can get fucking out of this neighborhood finally, and I've got time now to go look. I've got time to go look, to spend my precious hours instead of walking fucking 72 blocks to McDonald's where I only make fucking $6.75 an hour. And I'm not at home with my kids. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Whether they're doing drugs at home, I'm not fucking there, right? You can start to close a lot of these different types of gaps that are missing from this idea that we're going to tell everybody, the aspect that you were sort of arguing is like, well, then we should just fuck giving them food, fuck the food stamps. Let's just mail everybody a bag of fucking rice at their house because that's what they should fucking eat. I mean, that's really trying to. You're saying that this piece will solve every fucking problem. It doesn't really work. The more organic way is to view the system as an organism, where all the cells want to do something slightly different. They all want to respond to their environment slightly different. And giving them the cash allows them to use that, cellular energy in the way that's best suited for them. Of course, there will be a percentage of people who fucking waste it.
But I think we've shown with the election of Trump that if you want to look at it like an organism, like all these different cells, there's cancer in there. There's a mutation that's not right. And it grows. And it grows faster and harder and fights more to be more than the rest of them. Because the rest of them want to play ball like everybody else and fit in their little pigeonholes and do their things. Whereas the cancerous cells, they will grow. Stupidity is infectious. These people have turned to a guy that we don't fully understand. as we've said before.
I think, yeah, but the thing is they understood the other one, and they knew that was definitely what they didn't want. Right? You basically, you had the evil you knew.
And you had the evil you didn't know. And you've got the one you don't know.
You got the one you don't know, because they basically said, I don't like what Bill did. I don't like what George did. I don't like what Obama did. And Clinton is just basically, she's a dickless fucking form of the last 3 fucking presidents that we've had. And they're sick of it. They're fucking sick of it. So they rolled the dice. They said, what's the worst that could possibly happen in 4 years? What is the worst that could possibly happen?
North Korea actually does develop a bomb.
Well,
that works. That'll get here.
One that they don't have to use a catapult to launch?
Yes. One that actually, they have solid rocket fuel to do it.
If you're North Korea and you have a nuclear bomb, I'm pretty sure America is the last person that you'd even bother fucking with, because they got their own host of other assholes around them that actually make a much bigger influence on them. They've got China, they got Russia,
you
they
mean
have South Korea.
Wait. So you mean
Japan?
A former communist country and a current communist country, the little tiny baby communist country is worried about them more than they are that big capitalist shitmonger over across the Pacific?
Yeah.
Fuck out of here.
I think they definitely would. I think, even more to my point,
They
even
bombed
more
Japan before they bombed China or Russia.
Well, that's fine. That's what I'm saying. That responsibility, if anybody should be scared about them, we're the last ones that should be freaked out. It's China and Russia and everybody in Indonesia and everybody that's fucking around North Korea that should be freaked out, and their responsibility to stop those guys from getting a fucking bomb. If people really thought that were afraid about that guy getting a bomb, he'd be fucking dead. He'd be fucking dead. Look it. What did we do to fucking Saddam? We thought, weapons of mass destruction. We killed that bitch.
Yeah, all right, now wait a minute. We all know that we killed Saddam because we wanted the oil in that area.
That's fine, but but also the idea was possibly that he had weapons of mass destruction.
No, that's how they conned us into
Okay, yeah, fine. Okay, all right, fine. You're 100% right.
The Saudis wanted him out of the picture.
You know what? I'm not even. You're fine. You destroyed my argument. That's fine. Because I totally agree with you on that aspect. But there's still no reason to assume that we can't fly a stealth bomber over North Korea in the dead of night and just erase the problem if we really wanted to.
And like I said, the big communist brother next door, China, will cut us off from all our Nikes, all our Apple phones.
Bite the hand that feeds, because they don't have any fucking money unless our money's traveling over to them. They got their fucking monopoly money is what they got.
Yeah.
They got monopoly money.
Well, they've got an entire, I don't want to say infrastructure, but backwoods version of, hey, you know what? If the worst comes to it, we can still feed all these motherfuckers we got. We got all the food we need.
Oh no, yeah, they're fine. But I'm just saying, their money's so fucking worthless that have you seen the shit going on in Vancouver where the Chinese they have something that I think is sort of kind of brilliant, which is the idea that you cannot have too much capital, right? It's illegal to have like we have a minimum wage. They basically have like a maximum wage, and so the way that they dispose of that capital is by buying real assets around the world. So they're buying houses in LA, they're buying houses in Florida, buying houses in New York, and in Vancouver, they've created such a fucking catastrophic housing economy because they've basically bought any house that goes up for sale in Vancouver. I think it's Vancouver. Is like several $1 million because there's nothing on the market, and they buy it up and then they just leave it empty because it's a safe haven for them to keep that cash. Should anything go down, they can always sell that fucking house. And so, since they have purchased all these properties, and dried up the market of any supply, they've also and they don't rent them out because it's too risky for them. They don't want to put renters in their $1 million, $2 million condo. there's no
They
housing
can't
for
rent it too
rent.
cheap because then it'll damage the property. They can't rent it for too much because then they'll make money.
Right, and so there's no housing market, and the houses that are for rent are astronomically high.
It almost sounds like San Diego.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, did you see what they did? They're looking to do an empty house tax.
Yeah.
So if you have an empty house, there's something
it's $10K for the month, and then if they find out that you're a foreign investor and you don't do anything, it's like $10K a day or something.
Yeah, if
like
they
that.
find out you lied, it'll be $10K a day penalty for every day that you lied that it was empty. But yeah, or it's some percentage of whatever the total asset value is of the house. So whatever you purchased it at, it's like 1.5% or something like that. Which is, brilliant on Vancouver's side, because they're saying like, all right, well, if you're going to store all this shit here, you're going to start paying taxes on these assets, and then we can use that taxes to benefit the people who are here. But it also incentivizes them to possibly rent out their property to close that average $10,000 a year gap, that they have. Mm-hmm. But to me, that shows the level of confidence that they have in their currency. But it's also a way for them just to diversify their cash, because they're not allowed to have a whole bunch of cash.
So let's bring that local, because that's actually been a hotbed issue recently. Was Airbnb. A lot of people are buying properties, especially beachfront here, to rent out Airbnb wise.
Yes.
And some people are still saying that they don't make as much money, but pure numbers to me still way out. You're going to make way more renting Airbnb than you are renting it long term. So let's be fair. It's not Airbnb's fault. It's short-term rentals versus long-term rentals. Anything 6 months, year, whatever lease versus a weekend.
I think it's another argument that shows how desperate people are for secondary, third sources of income. Mm-hmm. Because you're not making enough at your primary job. So all the cities are forced into, some aspect of the gig economy on some level or another, whether it's driving for Uber or using Airbnb. These are simple solutions if you have basic assets to make additional cash on the side. They're not really long-term solutions, but they're Band-Aids to ultimate larger problems.
Here it could be a little bit more long-term, because as I said recently to someone who was looking about moving to Arizona for a job, nobody from San Diego goes to Arizona. People from Arizona come to San Diego. We're a vacation spot.
Yeah, no, we are.
Yeah,
definitely the Airbnb thing is fairly lucrative here, to the point that, like you said, it's become more lucrative than long-term rental.
Right.
Even if your house is empty, basically you can make a month's rent in 4 days. 5 days. You could rent your place out for a week for $600, and that's just a week.
Realistically, you could, not taking into account pop times like Comic-Con or something.
Summer.
Like that. Yeah.
Sure.
Saying over the average of a year, you could easily rent your place for 3 weeks and make more than you could if you did a year lease.
Yeah.
On a long-term
Airbnb started with the idea not that you would rent the house, that you would rent like the room.
Yeah,
that's what basically kind of kicked off. Then people would realize, like, well, fuck the room. Like, I'm gonna get $100 a day for the room, and it depends on where you are, right? You can charge a pretty still substantial rate. I guess I don't know. I feel like this makes more of an argument towards the idea of more like basic income, where I think that in the future.
Do you think if you pay people enough that they're not going to do that?
No. What I'm saying is I think that the future economy will look so different than what it looks like right now, with the idea of share economies, because I think in general, yeah, we got some minimum wages bumps, here and there across the country to $15 an hour, but what for, like, how long is that going to last? Because are we going to get another one of those, like, or is it going to take 20 years before we get another, up to $20? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't feel like this is going to be the norm. I don't think like every couple of years we're going to see spikes in minimum wage increases again. I think this like subdues a lot of the emergency needs, and people are really pissed off right now. But then it'll quiet people down for a while, and the economic gap will continue to stretch out, and so these sharing economies are going to become more advantageous. So I think that the renters market will continue to grow, and I think that we will get to a point where people don't ever own homes, and you just kind of like the share economy, almost like taking the idea of timeshares, right? The horrible fucking idea of timeshares, you know. But I think that there'll be more property monopolies, and you'll just buy like timeshares where basically you have access to live in every fucking city across the world, and all you got to do is just, you know, you just go there and it's already pre-furnished, and you just move around the fucking planet. And nobody will ever own property because that would be stupid and ridiculous. Because why would you want to pay the taxes and the upkeep and you know, everything, all the expenses that come along with owning a house? Owning a house it has its expenses,
yeah,
you know, built
There's
into
the
it.
maintenance. Well, it kind of goes back to the car thing, like,
right?
I'm with you. I don't want to own a car. I fucking hate it. The only reason I would own a car is so I could take it somewhere and drive it on a track or have fun with it.
Sure,
like enjoy the actual joy of driving. You know, a la fucking Jeremy Clarkson or some shit. But no, I don't want to deal with traffic. I just want to know that, hey, I can get to work in less than 30 minutes. That's good for me. But at the same time, I kind of like the fact that the only person that's ever farted in that car seat is me. I'm not sitting in somebody else's farts. And I don't want to like that's why we'll never have, you know, rental clothes, because
well, you'll be one of those people that has like you know, like when you go to the public bathroom and there's that wax fucking toilet seat thing out, you know, you'll just pull the wax fucking seat out of the head of the seat, the headrest.
Yeah, under the sun visor
Yeah,
or
it
whatever.
just pulls out. You lay your fucking cookie sheet down. You know, you set your bare ass down on the cookie sheet because now you've got that freedom to ride naked.
I've never in my life used one of those things.
No, neither
If
do
I
I.
need, if I need
just
to
sit
sit
and
down,
piss.
no. If I need to sit down to do something, I'll fucking hold it till I get the fuck home.
Oh, really? No, I just sit in fucking nut hair and piss droplets, like whatever the fuck it is, you know, just whatever. I'm a man. I don't give a fuck. I'm not scared.
No, but
I'm not scared.
don't be scared. Just I don't have to like it.
Nah, I'm not saying I'm in there beating off. I'm just saying, like,
you're not going to sit on like a nest of.
Why do I want to
fucking
hold
nut
in a shit? I got to shit, bro. If I got to
Yeah,
shit, I got to
you
shit.
Just wait till you get home. Just don't go that
What
far.
if I'm not going home for several hours? What if I just got to the movie theater and suddenly I've got to shit that fucking...
I hope your diet is regulated enough that you know when that's going to happen.
Many times I go eat and then I go to the movie theater.
I'm like
take a
clockwork.
shit.
It's not gonna. No, see, that's why I don't go eat. If I go eat,
I don't go
I'll
eat.
I'll either want to take a shit or I'll sleep in the movie theater. I don't want to do that. All right, let's. You know what? We need to wrap this up. This has been going on for like 3 hours.
I guess so. Cool. If you made it this long,
If you sat here and listened to both of us, thanks, and we're sorry.
yeah. And if you want to say anything, we're at Covalence Cast on everything. Covalence Cast, Facebook, Instagram. Not really
Reddit.
Instagram.
No,
Gave
we're on
up.
Instagram.
I know, but Steven managed it and he gave up on it. And Twitter, and Reddit. So,
And covalencecast.com. We do have that.
oh yeah, we do have that. I noticed that. That's good. You know, the
See,
thing
it's
is
in-
cool.
it's like fourth in the search results.
If you Google Covalence Cast, we're there. All our shit is there. It's even like the images. Like
You don't even have to. You could do it Covalence Cast as 2 words, or you can
Uh-huh.
do Covalence Cast as 1 word. It all comes up the same.
We took a term nobody wanted.
We took a term nobody cashed in on yet.
That's right.
That's
Cool.
the thing.
All right, man. Let's get on it. I think it's over.
So yeah.